Hi, my name is Christina. I am Whilst Iris Snaps on Instagram and Whilst Iris Snaps Designs, and this is a video about cross stitch. This is video number 6, and once again I'm filming from a sunny North Yorkshire. I don't want to give you the impression that the sun always shines here, because let me assure you it definitely doesn't. For the last week and a half we have had nothing but torrential rain, and in fact we're due another downpour this afternoon. But anyway, enough about the weather. What am I going to share with you in today's video? I have some stitching from the archives, and there is a Father Christmas theme this month, so I hope you are up for a bit of Christmas in May. I have some whips, I have a finish that hasn't been FFO'd, but let's not worry about that too much. I have a previous release that I'd like to chat to you about, and that's Little Florence, Flory Morement 1897. And I have a new release, which is actually 2 new releases, but I will explain further later in the video. So let's get cracking. Stitching from the archives. And as I said, there is a Father Christmas theme, and this is The Gift of Peace from Lavender and Lace. And this one I've already shown in one of my videos, and I explained it was stitched by my mum maybe 20-25 years ago. And when I showed it, I mentioned that I had stitched what I feel is a companion piece for this, which is Lavender and Lace, The Spirit of Christmas. And I stitched it for my Auntie Margaret's 70th birthday. But because of COVID restrictions, we were unable to nip over and collect it and bring it over to show in one of my videos. But now we are able to at least meet in the garden. We went over there last week, sent them up into the loft to get The Spirit of Christmas. And in fact, that opened a can of worms, because it turns out they have a squirrel nesting in their loft. But that's a story for another day. So this is Lavender and Lace, The Spirit of Christmas. And I love these Santas. I love the colours, although not so much the metallic thread. But they don't seem to date at all. Absolute classics. And I think they're still both red with a circular mount, a double circular mount. I think it really shows him off. So next, Father Christmas. This one, I think it's called either Charming Santa or Charmed Santa. And he was from the Better Homes and Garden magazine, the Christmas edition from 2002. And I fell in love with him as soon as I saw him. The magazine was loaned to me several times, because I haven't just stitched him once, I've stitched him a few times. But it was loaned to me by my lovely friend Lainey, who is Lainey Main on Instagram. And just look at that beard. I love the texture. And I stitched him, as I said, several times. Once for my BFF April, who is April, May, June Stitcher on Instagram and FlossTube. And hers is almost identical, although I switched out a few of the charms. I think the designer was called Simply Old Fashioned, and I don't believe they're designing anymore. In fact, their website hasn't been updated in a while. But if you would like to try and find this magazine, I know it was a while ago, 2002, but I will pop a photograph of the front cover just in case that helps. Okay, so now to my whips and my finish. Should we start with my finish? Oh my goodness, I have things strewn all over here. I hope I can get through these in the right order. Right, so as many of you have, I decided to join the lovely Brenda and Laura, Brenda and the Serial Starter, in their Blackbird Design weekend sale. So for the first weekend of every month, I'm going to focus on one of my Blackbird Design whips. And this month I decided to focus on what's actually a freebie from Blackbird Designs, and I think it is still on their blog, and if I can find a link I will put it in the drop down box below. Now, as you can see, I did manage to finish it, but it wasn't without drama. I decided to stitch it on 32 count granite from Zweigart with classic Colorworks Jakey brown, and I don't often work on 32 count these days or with 2 strands, and I'd forgotten just how much thread you get through when using 2 strands, so halfway through I ran out. So I ordered a new skein of Jakey brown, and I think you know what I'm going to say, don't you? When it arrived, the new skein was very different to the old Jakey brown that I had. My Jakey brown was very pale pink, and this Jakey brown was brown. So I was just going to throw it to one side, but I posted a photograph on Instagram and lots of stitchers said that they quite liked the look of it, and it was almost an ombre effect, which is very of the moment, isn't it? So I thought I'll go with it, which I did, and I'm pleased I did because I really like how it's turned out. So this sampler is dedicated to my maternal grandmother, Ivy Millicent Harris, who was born in 1914. Now, I won't be able to speak about her too much without getting emotional, but she was born to Samuel Alfred Harris and his wife Annie Peacock. My nana was one of 5 girls, but sadly 2 of them didn't make it through infancy, Dorcas and Daisy. My nana's 2 other sisters were Lavinia, who was 15 years older than my nana. She was born in 1899, and Maudie, she was 9 years older than my nana. And I'll put a photograph of the 3 of them in here. I don't have the photograph, I've left it at my mum's, so I'll have to just pop it in here, but it's one of my favourite ever photographs. Maudie's face in that photograph. She looks so like my sister Hazel, and the ringlets, love those. My nana said that Maudie would put the rags in her hair religiously every evening before bed, but my nana said, oh, I couldn't be bothered with all of that. I do have another photograph of Nana. We think she's around 18 months old in this, so it would be 1915. And I do remember Nana telling me that her mum had said she couldn't have the doll in the photograph with her. But have you ever tried to tell an 18-month-old child what they can and can't do? So it looks like Nana got her own way. And this is my Nana and Granddad on my mum and dad's wedding day in 1971. And unfortunately I didn't get to meet my granddad. He died of leukemia the year before I was born. And while I was down the rabbit hole of looking for old photographs, I found one that I have to show. This is my Nana's grandmother. This is Annie Peacock, although she was born Anne Maudie, and that's where my Nana's sister gets her name. But the only 2 words I can think of to describe her in this photograph are fierce and formidable. But Nana assured me that she was a really lovely, kind lady. It just doesn't come across in this image. So for the Blackbird sale next month, I have decided to focus on one of my whips from Stitch Mania last year. It's not a very big start, I'm afraid. This is a small motif from At First Cock's Crow from the Sisters Booklet, and I'll show you the design here. And in fact, the sisters that the booklet is based on were Hannah and Anne Shields, and they were from Marton cum Grafton, North Yorkshire, which is only about half an hour away from here. So I would love to get this sampler finished and framed. And then I have also managed to start another one of my reproduction samplers. This is Janetta Elizabeth Best, and I'm stitching this on Liberty Gathering Grey from R&R Reproductions using camellia thread, and I love this pink. So I should be releasing this within the next month or so, and I will give you a quick glimpse of Janetta's original sampler. There we go, pretty in pink. And then finally, let's see if I can manage to hold this up. I have been stitching away on Matilda Isabella Creasy, and I am hoping to release this next month. So this is going to have my undivided attention for the next 4 or 5 weeks. But I am loving this. The colours, the motifs. Little Matilda and I are definitely on a journey together. For those of you who purchased Matilda's drum from last month, you will recognise that motif there, albeit in different colours. So there you go, release next month. I've said it here now, so I'll have to make it happen. And now to my previous release. This is one of 2 Florences that I have on the website. This is Florence, or Flory as she stitched, Morment 1897. And as you can see, it's only a teeny tiny sampler, but hasn't she packed in an awful lot of colour? And let me tell you a little bit about Miss Flory. She was born in 1887 in Walcott, which is a district of Bath, or Bath, as you say if you're from Bath. Sounds so harsh the way I say it. Her parents were George Arthur Morment, who was a general labourer, and Emma Heel. And she had 2 younger siblings, Charles and Edith. Sadly, when Flory is just 6 years old, her dad passes away, and Mum moves the family over to another district of Bath, Larkhall, and it's here at the local school that Flory stitches her sampler, aged 10. 1897 was the Diamond Jubilee of Queen Victoria. She was at that stage the longest reigning British monarch. And I guess Flory's sampler was stitched to commemorate the milestone. So she hasn't actually stitched the words Jubilee, but she has included 3 rather cute crowns there, one of which is a tad wonky, but just adds character, doesn't it? Let me show you her original sampler. The colours are a little bit faded, so I'll flip it over so you get a better reflection of them. And I can just imagine the scene in the classroom 125 years ago, the teacher saying to Flory, "Now Flory, what colours would you like to use to stitch your sampler?" All of them, miss. Now, as you can see, she didn't really like to snip her threads, but at least she didn't carry them, so well done, Flory. Beyond this, there isn't really an awful lot I can tell you about Flory. I do know that her mum took on the job of a laundress, which I guess she carried out at their home, and I would imagine that all 3 children had to get involved with that. It was very labour intensive for not an awful lot of money. In 1920, when she's 33, she marries her first cousin, John Morment. No need to change her surname. And they moved 200 miles north to Sheffield. They don't appear to have a family together, but when the 1921 census is released next year, I may find out more about Flory, and I will have to update her history on the PDF. So her chart is available from the website. And now my new release, or should I say releases, because I have samplers stitched by sisters, the Eve sisters. We have Annie Beta Eve, who was just 6 years old when she stitched her sampler, and Emily Rowley Eve, who was 9 years old when she stitched hers. I'll read Annie's verse for you. Whenever a work's to be begun, with sober judgment view it, and never idly wish it done. Begin at once and do it. How true is that? And I love Annie's perfectly placed punctuation. We'll overlook the fact that she's missed the middle E from judgment. Do you know, it was so strange? Our eldest daughter Iris, who is almost 13, she rarely gets spelling tests from school these days, but last night she had a list of words to go through, and she said, "Mum, will you test me?" And would you believe one of the words was judgment? How strange was that? I'll read Emily's verse. Lord, I would own thy tender care, and all I love to me. The food I eat, the clothes I wear, are all bestowed by thee. And I'll pop Emily's sampler down while I tell you about the girls. Annie was born in 1855 and Emily was born in 1853 in Hitchin in Hertfordshire. Their parents were Richard Eve, who had a farming background, and Beta Rowley, so you can see where the girls got their middle names from. And she also was from a farming background. By the 1861 census, they have moved some 100 miles up to a tiny village in Nottinghamshire called Pearlthorpe. And I believe it's here at the local village school that the girls stitched their samplers. And in fact, I've been in touch with the school recently because it has been restored to its 1861 layout and is now used as a Victorian school experience for children. So they've invited me along to see the school whenever I want. So I thought I'll definitely go and visit one day and take the samplers with me. And I'll pop a photograph of the school in here. I have the original samplers here. As you can see, they're not much bigger than my reproductions. The girls stitched their samplers on 32 count even weave. And they weigh a ton. I'm going to have to put them down. I could do with a glamorous assistant to help me hold them up, couldn't I? So continuing with the girls' story. In 1861, their dad, Richard Eve, passes away, and Beta and the girls appear to stay at Pearlthorpe Farm for a short while with Richard's son from his first marriage, Charles, who was also a farmer, managing affairs. But in 1864, Charles emigrates to Australia, so Beta and the girls move back down south. Tragically, in 1868, at just 15 years of age, Emily, while in service in London, passes away, and the cause of death on the death certificate was consumption. And following Emily's death, Annie and Beta don't ever seem to settle down. In subsequent censuses, they're either visiting or boarding at various properties in the south. Beta passes away age 65 and leaves Annie a fairly substantial inheritance, but she continues the trend. For the rest of her life, she is either visiting or boarding with various relatives. Annie reaches the grand old age of 87 and she passes away in a nursing home in Hitchin, the town that she was born in. So she came a full circle. Let me show you the reproductions again. And they were stitched on 36 count grey from Weeks Dye Works, and I used a Swadelalgère silk number 163, and I purchased 3 skeins and managed to stitch both samplers with them. So I think I put in the chart that each sampler would take 1.5 skeins, but it's slightly less than that on 36 count. The stitch count is almost identical for the pair of them. They are each around 160 by 120, and they are available from my website from today. Let's see if I can pick up both charts together. There we go. They are available to purchase separately, but there is a small discount if you purchase both sisters. And I think that's probably a good place to end my video. I just heard a rumble of thunder in the distance, and I'm underneath a roof lantern here, and when it starts to pour down, it is deafening. So I think we'll leave it there. Thank you once again for watching my videos. Take care, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.